Well, we're going to take you on a little tour through the very first tire house. It's on this property. It's an orchard that I got 50 years ago, and I built that little compound over there, that big compound over there. All built it around a barn made of railroad ties. And 50 years ago, it looked pretty much the same. But while I was there, I got the idea to use tires. I used bottles and cans and all kinds of stuff over there, but I got the idea to build a house out of tires because it was the next product on this planet that I had noticed that we don't know what to do with. And so I had students coming out even back then to just observe what we were doing because they thought it was interesting or crazy or whatever. They were architectural students. So I got 2 or 3 architectural students, and we just started building this house. I don't think I ever drew it or anything. We just started building it. And so we'll walk around it here. It's the first house, actual house, that we built out of tires. And they weren't pounded like the tires are today. They were just stuffed. But if you look at this building, it's very much like the modern day Earthships. It's buried in the back, and it faces south, and it's got a greenhouse and an airlock, and it's employing a lot of the Earthship principles before I even knew they were principles. I was just shooting from the hip, building this tire house. And so yeah, the earth goes up against it. The roof is made of vigas, logs that we went up in the mountains and got ourselves. And we've since added more insulation and more roofing, but from the rear, it's just a north side buried Earthship. It's got a little dormer window up here, and the chimney is for an adobe fireplace. And it's being used today as an Airbnb, and it's actually pretty popular. They say it's one of the most popular, if not the most, in New Mexico. Because it's an Earthship, I guess, and because it's kind of cute inside. It's on the grid. It was before we started doing solar power. And here you can hear the irrigation ditch over here. This property is all irrigated from the mountains. And so this is the first, we call it the Hobbit House at this point. It's been called the Hobbit House now for, I don't know, a couple of decades. It did have a different greenhouse, but we added a more updated greenhouse to it. And it's actually got a double greenhouse, which is what the Earthships today. It's amazing how much it is like the modern day Earthships. There's the gravity operable skylight. So it's got the features. And this was built 40 years ago. And today it's got quite a few of the same features that the regular Earthships have. We keep doing things to it and fixing it up. It's in some ways still a work in progress because it's been remodeled a couple of times. Still could use a little more remodeling. And so it's on a beautiful piece of property that's got apples and pears and apricots and is really, for New Mexico, it's not desert. It's not high desert. It's lush. And so it's the Hobbit House. So we'll go in the Hobbit House. This is a little airlock. And this is the Hobbit House. So it's basically one room and a greenhouse. The bathroom's in the greenhouse. It's got a little loft up here, so it can actually sleep 4. There's the little adobe fireplace. All kinds of Earthship people have lived here, and I actually built it for a ragged hippie girl who had 3 kids that I ended up marrying. So it was, it's got a lot of history, and so it's been fixed up, and like it's got now flat screen TV, and the kitchen was built when we put the house together, but then we came back and did more things to it. We actually put in a kitchen sink and dug drainage out to the new outlaw septic tanks that we use today. So it's like a little kitchen, sleeping, living area, and then the bathroom is, people like this bathroom. It's a greenhouse. There's a toilet down at the end of the line, and here's the bathroom sink, and this is the shower. I'm in the shower. So it's a bathroom in a greenhouse, and you smell the plants in here, and the water bounces off the plants. It's a unique situation for people, and they get the real feeling of the Earthship, although this is a early, 40-year-ago version of it, before they were even called Earthships. This was just a tire house. Architectural students helped me build it, and then we let my second wife live here until before she was my wife, and then we ended up getting married. So it's probably gonna continue being used as an Airbnb now. It's called the first Earthship ever built, and we'll probably keep adding things to it. I think it won't be too long before we get it having solar electricity and catch water, because these things we weren't doing back when we built this. We were just making houses out of tires and cans and bottles, and we were making them solar. But you can see it is got a double greenhouse front face here. The inner glass face and the outer Phylon fiberglass face. So that's the double greenhouse of the modern global model Earthship. So it's the first Earthship ever built, and even before we were calling them Earthships, and it's probably going to go on for another few decades as a historic little Airbnb. Come stay in it. Check us out. Thank you.